How miserable has the Russian army been in the past 2 years? Let's just put it this way: the army is basically in the sky. The Air Force is basically on the ground. The Navy is basically at the bottom of the sea, although it is a bit exaggerated, but the meaning of the expression is still correct. A battle has almost wiped out the Russian army's family tank. Armored Torrent can no longer be played. There are only a few planes in the sky every day. Navy warships are not safe at home. If you want to rank the extent of damage to the three Russian armies, the most seriously injured is undoubtedly the Russian Navy. The Russian Root Army just flashed its back. You can continue to fight with the ointment. The Russian Aerospace Forces just fell and broke a bone. He can still play in the recuperation of a sergeant for a few months. And the Russian Navy was directly thrown into the ICU in Ubat-Ayan in the Western Rescue. There are no 3 years and 5 years. There is no way to recover at all. Why? If you look at it only from the data, the Russian Navy was hammered into the Black Sea Fleet, ASSI warship and the Moskva cruiser. Several large landing ships were shot down and submarines were sunk, but several other fleets of the Russian Navy remain intact. The aircraft carrier Kuznetsov V is still undergoing major repairs to Kirov-class cruisers too. Glorious-class cruisers, 8 destroyers, a dozen large landing ships are fine. But if you extrapolate backwards from the details, it can be deduced the combat effectiveness of the Russian Navy is basically close to zero. The warships of the Russian Navy are all 40 or 50 years old. The radar equipment on the warships was all 50 or 60 years old. Technology is 60 or 70 years ago. This antique class warship. The planes and missiles of the present are simply not detected. It's no different from a blind man. What can you do if you have 5 pieces? How can you have a nuclear-powered cruiser? What can you do with aircraft carriers? But you can't see the enemy. The combat effectiveness will be directly zero. There are more serious ones. The Russian Navy basically does not have one. A large dockyard has built a starship. In the era of the Soviet Army, they didn't build 200,000 tons of dry ships. 100,000 tons can be counted on your fingers. The Nikolaev shipyard is still on the territory of the Ukrainian army. Murmansk is again in the perennially frozen Arctic Circle. The Russian army would have had another one that could be of an okay scale didn't the dry ship be smashed. Later, in order to repair the arsenal ship, he was forced to do nothing, directly dismantle the 2 adjacent large dry docks. The wall forcibly merged into a large dock. The pots are all in tatters. Can you make any good meals? The warships of the Russian Navy really have the risk of going directly to zero.